We have Dr. Joseph Ndurito in the building. He is a Kenyan scientist. He's a doctor and he's come up with just what you and I need, especially during this COVID times. Karibu sana.
Thank you.
You know, ukisema Kenyan scientist na daktari, you would assume it's the same thing, but it's not. Is it?
To me, it is. Medicine is the foundation of medicine is science, right?
Yes, that's true.
But of course, medicine is a lot about dealing with people and all that. However, for instance, now in my case, one of those people who, before going to clinical training, you go into science and research and all that. So that's what now makes you a citizen of the twin world of pure science and clinical medicine. And I think it's a lot better because you see the diseases, bacteria, cancer, the human body, that's all just science. It's biology. And when you're a broad scientist like myself, physics, chemistry, and biology sort of merge together so that there's no distinction between any of them. And so you just swim through all of it, and you're better at understanding the human body and human diseases than if you're just in just one line.
Dr. You know, when you say you're swimming through chemistry, physics, and biology, I'm just sitting over here wondering, what was I doing? Because whatever that was not swimming through. It was like one of them was especially physics. But that's why you're here today, because COVID came and so many things happened. We saw all kinds of masks out there. Kuna zingine tunauziwa shilingi tano, ingine tunauziwa 500. You know, it was crazy. Sanitizer, there were so many things that were happening. We were hit by something that we didn't anticipate, we didn't expect, we didn't know how to handle it, and it affected us personally. Apart from even, you know, the disease itself, even our interactions were sort of like very weird.
Sure.
And you sat back. I don't know how you came up with this invention. How did that come out? Did you try the other masks?
I mean, yeah, we were using them. We've been using them because that's what was there at the time.
Yes.
And you know, I wasn't out to make masks. I've been into nanotechnology for a long time.
Yeah. Please break it down. What is that?
Nanotechnology.
Yes.
Nanotechnology is like something everybody should be doing. You know, it's like basically it's a science that deals with materials at the nanoscale. And the nanoscale, the term nano is a prefix that conveys a very small dimension, so that the simplest way to explain it is you have a meter. Everyone understands a meter. Now a nanometer is like 1/1000th of a meter. So if you cut a meter into 1 billion equal parts, each of that part is a nanometer. Now the way maybe to put it across is if you think about the human hair, how small it is.
Yes.
It's like 100,000 times larger than a nanometer in its diameter, right? So it's a very, very tiny scale.
Okay.
And at that scale, everything changes. It's a completely different universe. The science of, first of all, as I said, the science of physics, biology, and chemistry merge together so that there is no distinction. It's just an invisible world where everything interacts in a very different way. And what makes it incredibly interesting and useful, really, is because materials behave very differently at the nanoscale. Things that we see normally, like copper, gold, and other things, have very different properties and very different behavior at the nanoscale, and that's what makes it possible to manipulate them towards creating very useful products for use in medicine, in computing, in you know, creating semiconductors for phones, for other things. As you see, the phones are becoming stronger and stronger. You have a much stronger camera, more memory in a tiny space. That's because of the advances in nanotechnology and semiconductor production, things like that. But I'm not into producing machines.
Yes.
I'm into nanomedicine. So this is what we're also working on in trying to close the gaps that are there in whether it's in pharmaceutical research or just clinical work. All the problems we experience in medical practice, and the shortcomings, diseases that we can't treat, cancer that we can't properly diagnose or treat, and it looks as if normal bulk level science has reached its peak. Now 21st century is a time to take up nanotechnology and see how do we close each of those gaps, how do we solve each of the problems we're facing in medicine.
Wow. I feel like I was in a class right there. Thank you for breaking it down to lengths that we can understand. So we have Nanomasks here today, a creation of Daktari, and this is the talk of town. We're going to get into this after the break, but first, he did not come empty-handed because we're looking for 6 winners today who will get 2 masks each. 2 masks each. So we have 12 masks up for grab. We'll get to why you need one after this break. But first, stick around so that I can tell you how you can win, how you can get yourself a pair of them. I'm wondering, do you wash them? What are they reusable? All those questions. You have any questions whatsoever about this, and I'll be telling you how and when you're gonna win this. 111 Just start texting us, and we will get to that after this break. So don't go too far. Switch TV KE on Instagram, Switch TV Kenya on Facebook. Don't go. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Full Circle with Mikali. 111 That is our SMS line. Be part of the conversation. Send in your questions. We're here for all of that. So we're talking about nanomasks today, and Daktari is here to just explain why is this the talk of town. This is so unique. Well, you're saying that it's reusable, it's washable, but it's better than the normal masks that we're using. How so?
Because we're saying, and now we're just explaining why nanotechnology is important, and part of it is because it gives us the ability to kill infectious microbes in a way that antibiotics and antivirus and the other things wouldn't do. And if you use that, if in impregnation in materials and all that, it then makes that material capable of destroying all sorts of microbes. It's a broad spectrum. By broad spectrum, we mean it's bacteria, viruses, fungi, because the mechanism by which they kill the microbes is not specific to any specific microbe. That is an improvement from drugs, because for drugs, if it's an antibiotic, it can only work on bacteria, and or even then only on certain bacteria. And those bacteria can then also develop resistance to those agents by changing, mutating and changing the proteins and other things in their genetic material. The same thing with viruses. We have very, very few approved antiviral drugs. As you know, just a handful for HIV, herpes, and even then, they don't actually kill the viruses. They don't destroy them completely. They just sort of control their reproduction. Now, the only thing, now that we have those kind of course, things like the ethanol and the other things that we use in sanitizer to destroy viruses. But what is a surefire way of destroying viruses is nanoparticles, and this is not like a fad. This is very heavily researched science, and there's a lot of data to prove that. And the way that this happens is that the nanoparticles will destroy the viruses by fragmenting the genetic material of the virus, the RNA. And once you destroy that, because a virus is just like a particle, it doesn't have a life of its own. It doesn't have any metabolic activity outside the cell. So it's just like the genetic material, probably with an envelope around it, like the coronavirus, for instance. And once it attaches to the cell, the cell takes it in, and then it goes into the cell and takes over. It injects its genetic material into your cell's genetic material and uses that cell to reproduce itself. And then after it's reproduced billions and billions of its own particles, it destroys that cell, and that's how it spreads. So when the reason now we're saying this is a nanomask is the material is impregnated with the nanoparticles, and these nanoparticles, how their interaction with the virus is that, as you said, nano is very, very tiny.
Yes.
And it's about the same size as a virus. For instance, the coronavirus is a range between 80 to 140 nanometers, very, very tiny. So we could say maybe an average of 100 nanometers. Now, let's say the nanoparticles that are impregnated into this mask are about 50 nanometers up to 100 nanometers. That means that at that very incredibly tiny scale, it has no effect on the broad, on the very large cells of the human being, because a human cell is about 100 or 10,000 nanometers, much larger than a virus, much larger than about probably more than 10 times larger than even a bacteria. So it has multiple ways of dealing with all of these elements, so it will not be affected by the nanoparticles. And since they're permanently fixed onto the atomic structure of the fabric. And one of the things that people need to understand is that this material is not coated. It's not like a coating.
Because most people would think so. It's like, so what is he talking about?
No.
Is it coated by something totally different?
It's not coating, because if you had coated something, it's just on the surface. If you wash, it just it washes away.
Yeah.
Now, but this is the what impregnation means is that you're forcing this thing to react at such high temperatures and pressures that it opens up the atomic structure of the fabric, and the nanoparticles permanently sort of form permanent bonds with the atomic structure. So let me not go too much into the chemistry, but it's a very...
I'm just over here going like, okay, okay, I remember that class not so well though.
Yeah, I mean, those are... So this is the level at which we're playing, and this is the reason why you would wonder, how come we don't have these masks everywhere?
Yes.
How come they're also so expensive? Because what we're dealing with is very, very high-level physics and high-level chemistry.
How much are they going for?
So, for instance, now the ones that the mass-produced ones, which we produce at the factory, is 550, which is basically like rock bottom price. There's absolutely no profit on that. It's just basically like trying to think about what the market would absorb. But the ones that sort of like were not mass-produced, the ones that sort of you go through different you put all the science into it and all that would probably have been a production cost about 2,000, 2,500 shillings. So it would not have been a commercially viable product. However, even at that price of 550 is basically saying that it's just like maybe to get a little bit back of the production costs, and after KRA has taken what it needs and plow back every coin that comes from that back into the research, because I didn't start the research to produce masks. I started years back. Okay. I was pretty young, like 21, 22, like getting deep into nanoscience. Okay. And initially I was working on materials for treatment of wounds and prevention of hospital-acquired infections, critical care devices and sort of that. And when COVID came, I thought, why not?
Why not? And I think that we have a question for all of you. So I'm just going to switch it up a bit. We're looking for 12 winners, not 6. We're looking for 12, and each will be getting 2 masks. Carol, am I right? So 12 winners, and each is getting 2 masks. And the question is, why are these masks different? I know there's a lot of science in Yemendelea, and I hope you were paying attention as I was. What makes these masks different, the nanomasks different from the other masks that we've been using, and how much are they going for? So 111 444 111. We're looking for 12 winners, and each winner gets 2 masks. Okay? Okay. So we've seen reaction to the other masks that have been in the market. We've seen people get pimples, and then there was a whole riot, I think, across the world about how there's sort of like worm-like, I don't know, insects, animals, things going in there, causing a reaction on our face. So are you saying that this one will not be able to do that? If you're reacting to the other kind of masks, that this will not be doing that to our faces?
In fact, it treats that.
It treats that?
It treats that. Okay. Part of the benefits of nanotechnology is that, you see, it's coming to the level of the cells and all that. And the elements that we use in nanomaterials are basically elements that are important to cellular functionality, human cell functionality. So what the prediction as I have written also in that it's that it can help not just to kill the microbes, but also to reduce or even treat allergic reactions and things like that. And this is, as I've said, is also heavily researched functionality of nanomaterials. What I've gotten from users the people who got the masks earlier, months ago, and one of them was someone who was, I think she had gone to a doctor, and she was complaining about those the reactions, skin peelings and eruptions and all that. And so the doctor said, well, wait a minute, there's a nanomask that's going around. It's probably most people know about it, but why don't you try? And last month in June, she called and said that it's been very useful to her. All the skin peeling stopped, the eruptions healed, and she hasn't had any problem with the problems she was having before. The reason why people need to understand is that even this might sound like a dangerous stuff because you're saying chemistry and things like that. But even the surgical mask that you're using, there's a lot of chemistry that goes into its production, right? The basic material being, polypropylene, and then you have all these things about how it's made. And there's a lot of chemicals that goes into it. Now, if the science is not pinpoint, if something is being produced in very large numbers and everything like that, some of the residual chemicals that come with the mask are the ones that may be causing the allergic reactions that are occurring. And of course, different people react to different things differently. Now, what's supposed to happen is that with nanotechnology, it's supposed to approach the normal functionality of the human cell to the point that everyone should be able to be accommodative to the nanomaterial. It's biocompatible, but that I mean is compatible to what your biology expects. And this is on a broad scale. It wouldn't say that this person, that person, this race or this tribe and things like that.
So
it
works
for
everybody.
It works
so
for
there's
everyone.
A question here for you, Dr. Hi, Wikali. Kindly ask Dr. for how long can I use the Nanomask and where can I find it? How long can they use it? So it says here that you can wash it and use it for how long?
You can use it for the life of the fabric until the fabric just wears out. Now, but what I recommend, or rather we recommend based on the expectation, everything has a decay rate. In science, it's a sin to say perfect or 100% or whatever. So we've given there a limit of 100 washes. But it depends on you. You can 100 washes. If you're washing it every day, that's about more than 3 months, right? If depending on your own habits, that it could take you longer than that. I've been using these ones since about August last year, and I've been using the other one since February this year. So it keeps serving me. I still see patients, and I haven't gotten COVID-19 after I started using this mask. So I think, if there was to be a guinea pig, I would be the one who had been dead first, because I've been using it for a lot longer.
So where can people find it as we come to the end of this conversation, Dr.
People can find them. There's a number here. I think you can. You can log into our website, tiirahealth.com. And tiirahealth.com is a company from under which everything is being done. And you can call the number. That's it's also on the website, and also there are social media sites. Everything is Tiira Health, so we can have them delivered to you at your convenience.
Asante sana. So 12 winners, 2 masks each. Why is this different? How is it different from the normal masks we're using, and how much are they going for you to be able to walk away with a pair for yourself? That means you get to use them for longer. Kuna mtu anauliza, anasema very educative, my concern, do the nanoparticles die when we wash the mask? Daktari said no. So send in your answers, 111 444 111. Switch TV KE on Instagram, Switch TV Kenya on Facebook, and we'll be letting you know who are the winners by the end of the show. So don't go too far. We'll be right back after this break.